Assalamu alaikum friends, welcome back to the channel. Younes Charfaoui is here, and in this short video you are going to see how you can integrate CameraX into your Android application. Let's get started. So as you know, CameraX is Jetpack library provided by Google in which you can use to do camera related things. So it provides backward compatibility to 5.0. It has a lot of use cases we'll see. So this is the main documentation. We will see the architecture and everything, but now we will use enough in order to show and work with the CameraX. So first of all, let's get started. Let's get start configuration. First of all, we have some, dependencies to use. So here are the dependencies you are going to use. Make sure you have just this one and this one in your app. And let's try to add this one. All right, so there is multiple things happening here. And there is some optional thing like for camera, ML kit, vision integration, CameraX view class. We use that, for example, the lifecycle one and the core one, of course. So this is also camera 2, like the previous one used, and so on. So we'll try to copy those and use whatever we need. Let's go here and in the bottom, let's paste those. So let's check. I'm not going to use camera 2 here. And if you want, I'm going to use lifecycle. I'm not going to use any video thing. I'm going to use the view. I'm not going to use this one. And I'm going to use also this thing. And let's sync it. That's the first thing. That's the main dependencies you have to use. After adding your dependency, you have to go to your manifest and tell him I will use the permission for what? Permission for the library. So this is the permission for the camera, and this is the uses feature. This will be used by Google Play in order to filter out the app that does not have camera. So if your Android phone does not have camera, Google Play won't show you the app. Okay, so that's related to that. Now, after adding that, let me try to add it here. We will try to use like simple activity here, but you can use it in fragment and something else. And as I said, I'm going to use it here like in previous XML based project. You can use it in Compose, but it will be a different configuration. All right, we will do it for a separate video. So the first thing we need to do is to request the permission. So we need to request camera permission in order to use it. Otherwise we can't do it. So I'm going to declare a function called request permission. This is my permission. All right. And I will create a function for that. I will do it here. I will do some base callback thing, right? So I will do something like the following. If I have, I will request camera permission if missing. So we will define this function. It will take a callback. It will take a lambda, right? And it will give us this boolean if it is granted or not. If it is granted, then we will simply start the camera. We define the function here also. Like we will do function start camera, like following. It will start the CameraX, and this is the main process for CameraX. Otherwise, we will show like the toast, or we can finish our activity or something else. Or just please allow the permission. And here for the request camera permission of missing, we will define like the following. Here it is. I just copied and pasted from my previous code. So here we will check self permission for that camera, if it is granted or not. If it is granted, we are going to return true to this lambda here. So it's going to be true and it will start the camera. Otherwise, we will do the request. Here, when we do the request, I'm using the API for activity results. It will return permission, to request permission, sorry. And based on that, I will return it on the result. Then I will just simply launch it with my permission. This is a specific way to launch the permission. So until now, we request the permission and we are ready to go. The main process for starting the CameraX lies here. But before doing that, we need to set a way in order to show our camera results, like the camera, what the camera is scanning currently. So we do it like the following. We go here to the activity here. And in this activity, you are going to define something called preview view. This one, it is preview view. Do it like match parent here. And let's give it an ID. And we are going to use that preview view in order to tell CameraX to show the result of the camera into that view. The first thing we need to do is to get access to something called process camera provider. We'll do it like the following. Process camera provider with get instance to this. But here we don't have the camera provider yet. This is a listenable feature. Okay, so what we will have to do is add listener for that. So the listener accepts two things: the parameter, the runnable, so we define like the following, and it needs something called the executor in which this listener, this runnable will work on. Okay, so we need to define also an executor. Let's define the executor here. Let's call it here the camera executor. It is specific to that. And let's initialize it here like fun. Okay, just single thread execute. And we will pass this one here. Now here it will be the setup. The first thing we need to do is to get the camera provider. So this is called process camera provider. Let me just rename it that way. And this is the camera provider. It will do something like process.get. After getting the camera provider, what we need to do is simply we need to bind it to a lifecycle. Okay, so this lifecycle will be just the camera lifecycle, the activity lifecycle, and then we will give it the camera selector. The camera selector means like the first camera or the second camera, mean the front or the back. You can use some logic in order to switch between those, but I'm going to use just the front one or the default one. Use like camera selector or the default back camera. The default back, which is in the front. And here you need to pass something called the use case. The use case. What are use cases? If you go back here to the documentation, let me go back to use cases. There is multiple use cases, like the camera can help you do multiple use cases. This is always predefined use cases. Like you can use the preview in order to just preview things. You can use the image capture in order to capture images and save them locally, for example. You can do image analysis. Image analysis is a way we will be using that in a future video about MRKit. Hopefully, we will do some MRKit thing. The image analysis will give you images each, like, for example, continuously. And you can scan them and apply, for example, filters. You can do text recognition. And there is also this video capture use case. I didn't use that before, so I don't know exactly what to do. The CameraX capture is not final. Okay, it's still in alpha. Capturing system generally record the video and audio stream, compress them, mix the two streams, then write the result stream on disk. Okay, so this is special use case. The most common use cases are preview, image capture, and analysis. We'll be using this preview. So the first thing we need to do is create this preview use case. And using that use case, we can pass it here. And that way we can bind it to lifecycle. We can bind it to the CameraX. So in order to create a preview use case, we'll do something like following: preview.builder, like following, and then you can just use build. Private or just declare it preview use case. And then you can simply pass it here. That use. If you have like 2 use cases or 3 use cases, as you can see in the parameter here, it tells var. You can use multiple use cases, like multiple variables here. Something just to mention about the camera selector, this is not a constant like 1 or 0 or int. This is a camera selector object, okay? If you go here, you will see it defined one. It's builder with require lens facing this one. It's not a constant 1 and 0, but it is a defined object with default back camera and configuration. After building your preview use case, what you have to do is to attach our binding, our preview view we created in the XML. Okay, so we do like following preview use case dot set this one service provider, and here we do our binding dot this preview view dot service provider, this one. And that way we created the use case. Let's create a function from those two, like you can do something like following function build like preview use case. And here we will return that. So maybe we can do something like the following. We will return it, but at the end we will do an also in order to apply this one. So it will go something like the following: return type. So what is happening here? Also, yeah, it's dot set service provider. This is not an apply. Right, so this way you can create a use case. What you can do right now is just like that. You can create other use cases like image analysis, as I said, or image capture, but we are sticking with that. Now you have to use the bind to lifecycle. But before that, you have to check because if you are running the app and you are starting it again for some reason, let's say that the start camera was on the or resume or something else, what you have to do is to unbind everything. Unbind all. Then you should bind. But sometimes also we can have like some problems here. So we'll wrap this with try and catch. Okay, try and catch, and if you had an error, we'll just toast it. You can finish or you can do something else here. I'm just printing something here. So that's all in order to launch the CameraX. Let's run this app. I'm using the emulator, so it will use a predefined scene. Okay, it's a virtual scene. First, as you can see, we get this one, allow YouTube to take picture and record video. That's fine. The YouTube is my application called YouTube here. So this is the permission. We are running this one, right? So I will allow it. And if you allow it, there is a problem. That's fine. Let's go here to logcat and see what problem we have. So first of all, cannot toast on a thread that has not got. Oh, okay. So that's the issue. I'm doing this one here. So I should run this on the UI thread. This one or this one. I don't know in which were the issue. So simply I will just here do some logging, and the message will be e dot the message, and I will let me just do it to string. And let me just delete that and see if it will work or not. It will work or not. It will work, but it will say different thing. So as you can see, the camera is not showing. That means there is an error. So here is the error. Okay, cannot toast. I'm sorry. Go to the debug, and here I'm searching with the error here. So not an application main thread. Okay, so the issue is an application main thread. So the problem lies here. Okay, so now I remember because I already implemented this and I forgot that we will be using that in the image analysis use case. So here we will use the main thread. What you have to do is use something like following context compact get main executor for this one. And if you run it, it will work because you need to have to pass main executor here, so it will work. As you can see, it is working. You can do with the alt here something. I forgot how to shift it. Shift to hold the camera. Yeah, exactly. As you can see this virtual scene. So it is working correctly right now. Just delete those. As I can said here, in the catch, you can do your logic like stop it, finish it, or something else. But just to remember, here you need a main thread executor, right? You don't use this one like with specific thread, okay? Because this is something related to UI. We'll be using that in the next video about ML Kit when we use it with the analyzer. So this is it for this video. I think I hope you got how you can at least start your CameraX. Process of starting it is a little bit complex. It's not that complex because you have too many things to attach together, like this one, the use cases with binding and everything. So yeah, so that's all for this video. Thanks a lot for watching this video to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you in the next videos. Salam alaikum.